Hello Idle Hero fans, thank you for tuning in today, as I'm going to be looking at the new hero that recently came out, Vesa. I thought she was known as Queen Vesa because that's what the I guess the leaked concept art showed her name as Queen Vesa, but when it came out it's just Vesa. But anyway, I'm going to be looking at her and trying to give you my overall opinion of it, plus my general idea about the state of the game currently when it comes to a few certain things. Overall, her HP is pretty average. Her speed is a little low, even compared to Priest, because usually Priests can have a relatively low speed, but then the buff that they get from the guild tree kind of makes up for it. With her, it's a little bit not as impactful because her base speed is pretty low. She's kind of having that same problem that Karma had before, but unlike Karma, she doesn't really rely on crowd control, so speed isn't necessarily a big deal, and in some cases it might actually be a little bit better for her to go second. But other than that, her damage is actually pretty high, and her armor is fine as well. Her first ability deals 202% damage against 4 random enemies, and then heals all allies for 120% of attack, but lasts for 6 rounds. And that's actually pretty significant because even though the heal itself is not the greatest, lasting for 6 rounds is a very long-term heal. So unlike Ormus, for example, if she dies pretty quickly due to either like crowd control or just having unluckiness with crits, her heal will resume for a long period of time, which is nice. And plus the 200% attack is actually pretty high for a priest, so she's gonna be doing good damage while actually healing all right herself. Queen's Amnesty is going to give her 30% extra attack, her HP and crit. Now that attack and HP is already added, but the crit is something that kind of falls on the wayside. 30% or 35% crit is really high actually, especially considering that she does good damage with her ability as well. That's pretty fair. You're going to notice that in certain fights she's just kind of going to rock the enemy, considering that she's supposed to be mostly a support. Her third ability or second passive is each attacked heals you for 80% of your attack HP for 6 rounds and grants you 20% attack for 6 rounds. Again, this is kind of a trend that they've recently started where they want to have like these abilities that last for a particularly long time. 6 rounds is a long time for something to happen, especially since most fights aren't really going to have that matter, because if you're doing this on the 2nd round, having this last till the 8th round is pretty over the top. It doesn't really mean that much, but of course if you do get into these protracted fights where she dies quickly, this ability will still come into effect. Of course, well, not this one, because this heals her or increases her own attack, so if she dies early it doesn't really matter. But I mean, for the ability, her primary ability is that if she dies after using her heal, those targets will still get healed for 6 rounds. So it's a pretty niche situation where you're almost expecting her to die early in a fight that lasts long, which is a kind of counterintuitive, but yeah, I guess it makes sense to have some niche heroes like this. And her fourth ability, or third passive, when she's below 50% health, has a 50% chance to silence for 1 round to all enemies and increase own's crit damage by 60% for 6 rounds. Again, that's 6 rounds, it's just so long. But crit damage by 60 combined with 35% crit is actually pretty good. Now, I don't know how long she's going to be surviving once she gets to 50%, because her HP is good but not amazing. But this actually leads me more into what I was talking about at the beginning of the video, and that is the real problem right now, is that when you have someone like her and Ormus on the same team, this is starting to get really tedious to actually fight against, because it feels like heroes are just getting completely mitigated. Healing right now is just way too strong, and it's mostly Ormus's fault, but when you look at heroes like Queen Vesa, it's also getting problematic that not only are they putting in heroes that heal very well like Queen Vesa does, but they're also doing damage. Like, Ormus's heal is by far better than hers, significantly better, especially if that 340% extra HP procs, that's just gonna kill it exponentially. It's gonna be so much worse. But she will do way more damage than he will in most circumstances. Now, when you have 2 units like that, one that's dedicated to supporting and the other one that's dedicated to healing, but they both heal and one of them does a lot of damage, it's becoming really a problem where if you don't have these heroes on your team, it's going to be really detrimental. And that's actually where I'm sitting to myself personally, is that I have a pretty good team. Most of my heroes are considered top tier, but because Ormus is not one of them, my team is non-competitive. And that's a disaster. I think that's a balance issue that the devs really need to address. And I think they've kind of mess this up from all perspectives, in my opinion, when it comes to Vesa, because Vesa is mostly a worse Ormus. Like, she doesn't do the same jobs as Ormus, don't get me wrong, but if you had to pick between the both of them, I don't know, like, certain circumstances might come to that. Most times it's not going to matter because you're going to want a forest or a fortress on your team anyway, so you're probably going to have both if you have the choice. But if it comes down to picking one of them, you're almost always going to go with Ormus, and that's a weird thing because Ormus is very easy to get, which means that a hero that is easy to get has actually more potential than a hero that was recently released and is the profit engine of this game. So it really goes to show me that not only are the devs kind of failing from a balance standpoint, but they're actually failing from a profitability standpoint. It actually makes very little sense to do that. I've always kind of criticized their balance because it seems to favor the new heroes, but I always understood that because as a business that makes sense for them. They want their new heroes to be stronger to motivate people to spend money to buy those heroes. So to see this happen in this way is very unusual. This isn't even a corporate decision. This is just a bad game developer's decision, and I really, really hope this kind of thing doesn't continue. But I don't think it's going to be reined in very soon because Ormus has been this way for a long time. The official game developers and don't really seem to care. It's really troublesome that that's the case, but that's what it is. So I might actually just come out with a video very soon that's just like 30 seconds long, or I guess it wouldn't be like that, that's being a little bit melodramatic, but I might come out with a video very shortly that just explains why if you want to be competitive right now, you have to build Ormus. But in that video it'll also kind of explain the detriment, which is that because you have to commit to Ormus, if they do nerf him in the near future, that's going to be really shitty for you. And I know, like Drip, for example, is working on a second Ormus right now. So if they do end up gutting him and making him useless, Drip is going to be stuck with 2 10-star Ormuses that are useless because they've put so much emphasis into him being strong right now that it's unavoidable that people would want to gravitate towards him. So I don't want to go on to this too much more because I feel like I've sidetracked. I wanted to make this video mostly about Vesa, but I feel like in talking about her, it kind of opens up that can of worms that is Ormus right now. But ultimately, she is a good hero, and in most scenarios, if you're building a Rainbow Aura, or the Aura that has 3 Fortress and 3 Forest, you're going to have her both her and Ormus anyway. Ideally, you could have something weird, like you could actually have like 2 Ormus and a Vesa, and then 3 DPS units like Demon Hunter, Rosa, and from Fortress Sigmund. And that would be so stupidly hard to deal with, but it's probably not like the ideal team because there are some weird things coming out right now. Like Gurk's power has been very underrated. That's probably gonna be another video I come up with very soon. It's talking about how strong Gurk is right now as a 10-star hero, and that's another thing that as a game developer I think they really dropped the ball on. Where you look at a hero that has been very mediocre for a long time, and then they make him really strong in their 10-star. But not only do they do that, but they make it in such a way that it's not really visible until you've experimented with it. And it's just not good practice. They really need to watch out when it comes to stuff like this because it really screws over a lot of long-term players. If you're a mid-tier player, if you spent like $1,000, $2,000 on this game, and you invested in like Michelle or Asmodel instead of Gurk because of the information you were given, making him significantly better than the rest of them at 10-star is pretty problematic because, I mean, you've invested thousands of dollars into a game and they've just decided to tell you that critical thinking is not rewarded. So that's unfortunate. But anyway, I'm derailing again. I'm kind of getting on a little bit of a spiteful tangent, so I'm not going to keep that going. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry that it's been so long since I made a video. I will be streaming again on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time for the summoning draws. I'll have that video posted to YouTube as soon as the stream is done as well, so if you guys can't tune into the stream, it'll always be there. But yeah, thanks guys for watching, and have yourself a great day.